Hey guys, Matt here today, getting back into John chapter 12. We left off talking about the importance of the Greeks coming to Jesus. And just a quick recap, there seems to be something inaugurated by the Greeks coming to Jesus. So the Greeks come seeking Jesus, and Jesus doesn't necessarily sit down with them and start talking to them. He takes it to a whole nother level. And in verse 23, Jesus said, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified." You say, okay, what hour? What's he talking about? Well, all of the Old Testament was prophesying about the nations coming to Israel. Jesus is Israel. The nations coming to Jerusalem. Jesus is Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem. So are we, the church. Isaiah 2, nations streaming to Mount Zion, the holy city, the King. It's Jesus. It's all Jesus. So that's what is going on here. Jesus says, now the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. He's going to pick up on this glory train, if you will. In verse 27 he says, "Now is my soul troubled." And I want you to notice the immediacy of everything he's saying. The time has come. Now my soul is troubled. "And what shall I say?" he asks, hypothetically, if you will. "Father, save me from this hour? No, but for this purpose I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name." Then a voice came from heaven, "I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again." The chief purpose of the cross is the glory of God. The Godhead, you could say God the Father, but it's really about the Godhead. It's about God being glorified, getting glory. God is in the glory business. Now, from a human perspective, with a finite mind, a mind that can only go so far, you say, all right, well, some people would say, that's kind of narcissistic of God. Well, no, it's not. It'd be narcissistic of man. But God is in the glory business because God is the only one who is worthy of glory. Just a quick note before we go on. What is glory? What is glory? How do you define glory? Glory is defined as a weightiness, a heaviness. You might even say fatness. God's not obese, God's spirit, but God is obese with glory. God is fat with glory. God is rich with glory. It is the weight, the weightiness of His glory. He's unlike any other. He's not like man, only a little bit higher, a little bit better. He's unlike any other. And He is to get glory. He gets glory in everything He does. We've got to realize that He gets glory by saving sinners, taking them from the domain of darkness, Ephesians 2, and transferring them into the church. Ephesians 3, the manifest wisdom of God might be known to the rulers and powers and authorities. That's Satan and his minions and his demons. God gets glory by saving sinners. He also would get glory from casting rebellious, wicked people into hell. And He's perfect. He knows exactly what He's doing. He gets glory in everything He does. So, the glory of God is at stake here. That's chief among Jesus' mind. Jesus wants to honor the Father, obey the Father, even to the point of death, so that He will get glory. You can't make it up. I mean, no Hollywood producer would write such a script. People are lost, they're dying because of sin, and God, the only way God can save them, the only way God chooses to save them, the only way God ordains to save them is He has to send the perfect sacrifice. And the perfect sacrifice is His own Son. So He has to kill His Son to cover the sins of all that will come to the Son, going to the Father, that will come to the Father through the Son. It's the gospel, right? That's how God gets glory. God is in the glory business. So Jesus says, now is the time that, verse 23, now the hour has come that the Son of Man is to be glorified. And then his soul starts to be troubled. Remember, He's 100% man, 100% God. He's starting to feel the heaviness of this thing called sin. He knows this thing called sin is going to be put on Him. And He's perfect. He's God. He knows that there's going to be separation from his Father, whom he loves so much we can't even grasp it. And he knows that after the Father puts all the sin on him, and after the separation, he's going to have to sit there and feel that for hours. He knows it's coming. And so he says, "Oh, now is my soul troubled. But what should I say? Should I ask the Father to take me out of this? No, this is the reason I'm here." So he prays to the Father and he says, "Father, glorify your name." And the Father answers, "I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again." Jesus will be raised from the dead. This will be the culmination of the glory of God. And thus, the nations, the Greeks, all people will be drawn to the Father through the Son. Not all people, every single person, all people, all types of people. The invitation is open to all, not just Jews. Oh, the glory that the Father will get through that. Verse 29. Now I want you to focus quickly on what the crowd's response is. Verse 29. The crowd that stood there and heard it said that it had thundered. Others said, "An angel has spoken to him." Well, the angel sounds a little more spiritual, but they're both wrong. It hadn't thundered, and it wasn't just an angel. It was God the Father, and it wasn't for Jesus' sake. Jesus didn't need to hear the Father say this. Jesus was in communion with the Father all the time. This was for the people standing around. Verse 30, Jesus answered, "This voice has come for your sake, not mine." Now listen to the immediacy. Listen to the now. Now is the judgment of the world. When's the judgment of the world? It's already under judgment. Adam already sinned. Jesus already came. And Jesus is going to die for that sin. And he's going to cast out the ruler of this world. Though he has latitude. Yes, he does. But he's already defeated. Now is the judgment of this world. Now will the ruler of this world be cast out. The greatest event in human history happened when Christ not only came, but lived a perfect life and died and rose again from the dead. Now, that casts out the ruler of this world. That defeats Satan. Satan is already a defeated foe. The best way to describe it is, I think, is when you think of World War II, and even after World War II had ended, there was all these little outlying battles, cleanup operations, if you will. That's what we're in now. The greatest battle's already happened. The victory's already won. Well, technically it's not won yet, but Jesus is saying now because it's about to happen. So he says, now is the judgment of this world, and now the ruler of this world will be cast out. And when I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw all people to myself. It's not teaching universalism. He's just saying all people from all different walks of life, even those dirty pagan Gentiles. In fact, mostly from them. Verse 33, he said this to show by what kind of death he was going to die. So the crowds answered him, "We have heard that from the law that the Christ remains forever." And that's true. The Christ does remain forever, but they're not taking the proper exegesis, if you will. They're not interpreting the scriptures properly. In fact, the big offense to the Jews was, we want the king we want. We want him when we want him. We want him to do the things we want him to do. We want him to be a monkey on a string, if you will. We want to prop him up. We want him to take us from Rome. We want him to feed our bellies. Remember in John 6? They were following because of the signs, but they weren't seeing the Father in the signs. They were just seeing their bellies. Do another trick, Jesus. Do another thing. The big offense to the Jews was that the king wouldn't stay here forever. That the king wouldn't come in power and glory in the way that they wanted him to come in power and glory. It was offensive that their king had to die. What kind of king does that? A perfect king who needs to cover sins, but they don't know that. So they say, well, we've heard from the law that the Christ remains forever. But they don't realize that they're misinterpreting the scripture. How can you say that the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man? And at this point in time, you can almost see Jesus in his humanity dropping his head and shaking it and being tired. Who is the Son of Man? I've been showing you. I've been showing you for year after year. Who is the Son of Man? How can you ask that? Jesus must be thinking. Verse 35, so Jesus said to them, the light is among you for a little while longer. Walk in the light while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. Remember, Israel was supposed to be a light. Exodus 19, I think it's 15 and 16, something like that. Israel is supposed to be a nation of kings, a priestly nation. She's supposed to draw sinners to Yahweh. But she doesn't do that. Jesus comes. Israel was a bad light. Jesus is the true light. It says that in John 1. The true light comes into the world. And Jesus says, you want to know who the Son of Man is? Oh, the light is among you right now. What do you need to do? I'm only going to be here a little while. Walk in the light, lest darkness overtake you. The one who walks in darkness does not know where he is going. While you have the light, believe in the light, that you may become sons of light. He's telling them yet again. Will they hear? Nah, they're not going to hear. He goes on, he says, when Jesus had said these things, he departed and hid himself from them. Though he had done so many signs before them, they still did not believe. You know, there's people today that say that, well, if God would just do this, then I'd believe in him. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. He's already done it. He's already died on the cross. He's already done the most amazing thing in the world history, and yet you choose not to believe. That's what they were doing. That's what people still do today. Verse 38, so that the word might be spoken by the prophet Isaiah. Now he's going to quote Isaiah. He's going to quote Isaiah 53. He's going to quote Isaiah 6. He says, Lord, who has believed what he has heard from us? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He goes on, therefore they could not believe, for again Isaiah said, He, God, Yahweh, has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, lest they see with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them. Isaiah said these things because he saw the glory and spoke of him. Isaiah said these things because he saw the glory, he saw the Christ and spoke of him. He knew most of the people that he was speaking to in his generation would not turn and listen. Why didn't they turn and listen? Why does God allow this? How could it be that he would harden their hearts? This is the sovereignty of God. This is the election of God. This is divine election and predestination. God chooses who he will save. And he's perfect. Most of Israel were not saved. Yes, it's true God made a covenant with them. And yes, it's true God never breaks his covenant. But Israel did over and over and over. So God turns his back, divorces generations of Israel because of her disobedience. Why would he do that? Why would that be in the Old Testament? What in the world could God possibly be showing us? He's showing us the great need for the king. You see, Jesus came to do what no one else could do. Jesus came to change the heart of the sinner. Moses prophesied in Deuteronomy 29:4 to Israel. He said, you can't follow Yahweh because you don't have eyes to see, you don't have ears to hear, and you don't have a heart to follow. So what does Jesus do? Why does he open the eyes of the blind and raise people from the dead and do all those miracles? He's showing them, I'm the one who can change your heart. All those signs and wonders were just pointing to the fact that he's the king, the perfect king, who can actually change the heart, spiritually speaking. So, Isaiah said these things because he saw Jesus' glory and spoke of Jesus. All of the Old Testament is about Jesus. No surprise. Verse 42, nevertheless, many even of the authorities believed in him. That's good news. But for fear of the Pharisees, they did not confess it. That's bad news. So that they would not be put out of the synagogue, for they loved the glory. Here comes the glory again. Now think of it with a small g. They love the glory that comes from man more than the glory that comes from God. What's going on there? Jesus shows his glory, and many are quote-unquote believing in him, and yet they feared the Jews, they feared man, they loved the glory of man more than the glory of God. Were they truly saved? That's a tough one. Doesn't seem like it, does it? So the big idea, the big picture, what we're seeing in John 12 is the inauguration of the second Exodus, the last Adam, the true King, the Son of Man, the Son of God coming, and now something amazing has happened. He's drawing all people. The Old Testament that talked about the nations coming to Mount Zion, it's happening now. Jesus says now is the time. And so at the end of John 12, he's going to stop. John 13 through 17, he's going to focus simply on his disciples, and he's going to get them ready for his departure. We'll pick up on this in the next video. Peace.